Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are having an amazing week. It's wonderful to see you guys all here. Welcome. All right, so I'm going to share our live and we're going to get started. Today, we're going to talk about the bioarchitecture of balance. We're going to take a look at what that actually looks like in the physical body. And essentially, the point of today's conversation is to understand that we can actually embody peace and balance in the body. We can create it by working with the architecture of our multidimensional body. So there are two ways to affect our state of there's many systems that are interconnected. The brain waves that are triggered in the body, in the brain through states of emotional balance. And we basically want to learn how to balance the nervous system in order to trigger higher states of consciousness. Okay. So today, okay, is that better? Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. Angie, welcome, welcome. Shirley, welcome. Siobhan, Mafona, welcome. Welcome everybody to the chat. Ding, can you guys hear me okay? I want to make sure you can hear me. I'm right here under my microphone. Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you guys for showing me. Artie, welcome. Janice, Jessica, Nicoella, and Veronica. So yeah, we're going to take a look at how we create balance in the body. So one of the ways that we create a long sustaining balance and harmony in the body is through the deprogramming of root core programs, of survival programs. Okay. So all of these kind of survival mechanisms that we have that respond to things automatically, these are the things where we want to insert mindfulness and awareness and hopefully begin to compassionately shift from those really reactionary responses to something that is more connected and more centered and more promotive of healing and connection in the body. So how do we do that? There's a couple ways to do that. We talked about the emotional part of it, and you guys can check out Emotional Mastery to kind of look at the different emotions and how to get to the root core of deprogramming. And when you do that kind of deprogramming work, it really completely changes your perspective of how you process emotions. And we need to understand that it's not just a psychological thing, it's a biochemical, bioelectrical response that is changing. So we want to understand that in our physical bodies and be supportive, mindful and conscious and aware of that throughout our day. Okay. It doesn't mean that we have to be constantly, hyper vigilant of things around us. It's not that we're looking for an exacting way of being and presenting ourselves to the world, but rather come back to a compassionate, mindful connection to our needs, because when we experience trauma in our lives, we usually have a really hard time connecting with our core needs. And this is actually one of the most incompassionate things, that we essentially become our own abuser. Okay, we become our own abuser. And essentially we want to understand that when we come from trauma, when we experience a lot of trauma, we're used to having certain chemicals running through our system that maintain us in something that is comfortable, which is survival. Okay, so we want to kind of shift from that survival mechanism into a new way of being. And this is a new human. All of us humans are learning how to be in this state of coherence with ourselves and with the universe, with the experiences that we're having around us, with family and friends. And that really requires a level of self-observation and self-mastery to the point where we are compassionate and loving with ourselves every moment. Okay, so it's a different way of existing, of being. It is a communion with the universe. It is a communion with yourself. Every cell of the body comes in alignment. And that kind of harmonious existence we can see in nature. Okay, so as I mentioned before, when we align with nature, we see the ebb and flow of life and death, and there is no panic or emotional trauma around that, because it is part of maintaining a balance and harmony in all things. So what we want to kind of become really good at is kind of investigating and exploring um, when it's okay to let certain parts of us come into that cycle of death in order to emerge new parts of us that are more sustaining for the whole organism. Okay, it's like this homeostasis, a more whole way of interacting with our body. So let's talk about the structure of the body. Okay, so chakra systems, first of all, are essential for this because the chakra systems are the layers of our body that become the filters of our perceptions. So again, when we have a lot of thoughts, programs, really deep subconscious instinctual responses to life. These deep rooted programs that unworthiness, not good enough, shame, guilt, all of these kinds of disconnects with our core self, in which we attack ourselves, it really becomes a foundation of disconnect and separation from the greater whole. And this is kind of the biggest violence that we cause ourselves. But again, we recognize this in the way that we see sometimes parents, sometimes our great grandparents, our ancestors, the many experiences that they've had through life where they didn't choose themselves. They choose fear or survival. And these choices always end up in more suffering, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. So how do we kind of shift from that is to get familiar with cause and effect. Okay, so begin to understand how your reaction affects others. And this is the first part of the mindfulness practice that we're going to practice today, is beginning to observe yourself. And we've done this many times on this channel, to begin to watch yourself over the past 24 hours and just observe, how do you respond to things? What is your go-to reaction emotionally? And how are you jumping on these reactions? So a lot of the mechanisms of our psychological responses are based on the subconscious programs that we have. Okay, all of them. And so our subconscious programming is essentially the one that holds these belief systems. And the only way we can access them is by understanding the emotional output that's now become oftentimes our personality, everything that we think the masks that we wear in the world in order to interact with others. So a very loving and compassionate invitation this week, as we practice our self-love practice, is to begin to observe, number one, to identify the masks that we wear, see how we morph in front of different relationships, different circumstances, how we utilize the survival toolbox and apply that into a survival mechanism. Okay, if you're constantly in survival, we want to begin to shift away from that, okay, into a higher state of being. And so what does the higher state of being look like? Essentially, the higher state of being is one that is in a state of flow, but also active flow. Okay, so this is the integration of the feminine and masculine. The feminine is the intuition, the ability to trust in that intuition, to listen, and the masculine is the ability to take action on that intuition. So most of us have a disconnect between those two, and we literally become stagnant, depressed, unsure, we're confused. Confusion is a really huge issue because it's a disconnect from the self. And because we live in such an overwhelming time of information, most of us are used to, again, we talked about this last time, having just patterns of information entering without really taking time to see what we need, not the information that's outside of us. So this is really important. And so I guess in order to integrate the feminine and masculine, this is the compassionate part. And this requires a level of spiritual maturity where we now begin to look at, what is good for us and to be congruent, thought, mind, and soul. Okay, so mind, body, soul becomes congruent, and everything that we're doing is kind of in alignment with one another. Okay, so this is where it requires discipline, but the discipline is not from a forceful, fear-based survival discipline. It is a discipline that comes from a profound love of truth a profound love of compassion, a profound unconditional love. Because if you understand the side effects, the cause and effect of your reactions, you understand that everything that you do has a chain reaction in the universe, not just in your vicinity, not just with the people that are around you, but our lack of awareness, like when we do something, we can input into another person an insecurity, a fear we can trigger, right? And so remember that we come into relationships by resonance. So every person that we meet is in alignment with us. To be able to catch what brought us into resonance right when we're interacting with them is really powerful, really transformative. And the only way you do that is by self-observing where you're at and knowing where you're at all the time. Okay. And being able to bring yourself back to that neutral state, bringing back to that calm, centered, balanced state. And that that learning of observation of yourself helps you learn what it means to be a human. And when you come in contact with another human, you recognize in their actions, in their observations, these things about yourself, about others. So this is really becoming a human that is really connected with themselves in a very deep way, and that's kind of what we want to do. So let me go ahead and open little tiny PowerPoint. I want to see, is there any questions? I know I had some really awesome questions last time. Alex Leroy, thank you so much for that super chat. Welcome. Why does negativity feel more real than positivity? Right. So based on our childhood experiences, and you have to understand that perception is the direction of creation. Okay. So perception is what creates. And perception becomes filters of reality. And these perceptions, these filters are created by subconscious beliefs. And subconscious beliefs are built upon from the time of being in the womb, okay, to the age 7 is when we solidify a lot of our whole beliefs about ourselves and the world. Okay, so if you take a look back at your experience being in the womb, and in the womb, it felt unsafe. Mother felt unsafe in her relationship. Mother felt unsafe with herself, wasn't sure if she could be a good mother, wasn't sure if she wanted to be a mother, was insecure about financial circumstances, whether she would be able to support, doubt about whether the father would be able to support, all of these things that are quite, these are circumstances that they're a product of our societal structures in a way, because, and this isn't it tends to be, it's a global thing, but there are some cultures that highlight this more than others. Okay, so we also want to look at that. Okay, so that influence, that stress programs that we take on, they create an idea, a belief about what it's going to be like coming into this world. Okay, so at the time of birth, at the time of coming into the birth canal, and remember that birth process is an incredibly traumatizing experience, because we are coming from a very safe, contained environment that feels, in as much as that experience was in the womb, kind of controlled and warm. And then we come out into the world and we have a violent, breath. Sometimes we're slapped on the back. And it really takes us into this immediate roughness of this masculine expression of life. And so this essentially, this process of birthing and everything that we felt, were we received by our mother, okay, immediately? Were we held by her? That's really important. That literally creates and produces chemicals in the brain that begins to create networks, neural networks of survival in the body. It's scientifically shown that children that are not held by the mother within the first 6 months of birth, they tend to develop a lot of sometimes abandonment, subconscious abandonment or disconnect, or feelings of being unsafe. Okay, so think about these really, really strong programs that create our perception. And then we have an entire life experience in childhood that builds, either supports and reinforces those belief systems, or weakens or change. So it really just depends. And so what happens is that survival mechanisms and negativity, you know how so we define negativity as something that makes us feel unsafe or not good, in whatever spectrum that might be. So those are belief systems that are created. They're emotional beliefs that are created by all of these experiences. So how do we shift that? And the truth is that the majority of us, we don't realize it, but the majority of us are in constant states of survival. Okay, and survival is very familiar to us, and we don't realize the negative impact of that, but it is actually something that, how do we know it's negative? Because the body is not harmonious. The body comes into illness, the body comes out of balance. That's how you know. So balance and harmony is essentially what you can say good, but not in the sense of good and bad, in the sense of it is the most creative. It is what creates vitality, longevity. It supports the most um, highest functioning organism. Okay. Things that are counter creative, things that are negative, create an out of body, disorganized, everything from, the body getting all kinds of chemicals that are producing stress and anxiety, taking the body out of balance. So this is where I want you to be more compassionate with yourself, is to begin to notice and be honest with yourself. How productive is negativity in your life, even if it's comfortable? And if you notice that, you're not, you don't have the financial income or the abundance or the stability or feeling safe in your home, in your environment, your relationships, spirituality is all encompassing. Okay. So the spiritual processes that we cultivate are in order to maintain harmony with every aspect of our life. There's no separation and compartmentalization. And so we become high functioning organisms in this universe, in this world, co-creators, when we embody harmony. And our matrix, this matrix hologram in which we live, most of the things that we experience in this life, the way that societies are structured, political things, financial institutions, are all quite self-serving, focused on survival programs that create systems of survival for ourselves. We are indoctrinated that state of survival at an early age. So that's not the way that the world has to function. This is the way that we've adopted. We've taken that on as true, but we are now in the process of waking up consciousness and understanding that that's not collectively beneficial. It's not beneficial for ourselves. It's not beneficial for family and friends, because now we're waking up consciousness to what's good for ourselves and the whole. So this is where we begin to move away from old structures of society that are more parasitic into a more collective unity, unified. And we become unified when we become unified inside of us. So this is where we want to kind of begin to rebalance and make shifts in the world, in ourselves, in the way that we see ourselves, and the way that we've been working. Ina Danova says, I have been having recurring dreams where I experience being both characters, such as a warrior and a victim, bully and being bullied, killer and murdered. What is the significance of this? Wow, that's amazing. Amazing dream. Dreams always are very, very personal. And I strongly suggest meditating with these dreams in order to take a look at what was the main emotion that you had. Okay. And it's a wonderful study, this dream, because you can begin to notice the way that you felt. believe it or not, memories also create memory structures in the body, in the nervous system. Okay. So, how do we, sometimes you can't remember the visual, but you will remember the feeling. So, I want you to take a look at the feeling, the overall feeling, every time you shifted from each one of those, I guess, archetypal, structures of being, and taking a look at, how do you feel when you are the murderer? What's the lesson there? What is there to learn in that experience? It's really amazing that you are afforded that opportunity, right? And then exploring the side of the victim. These are studies that we want to do that are kind of initiations into understanding our bodies, our minds, the psychology, and the opportunities for healings that we have. Hello, True Essentia. Welcome. Hello, Essentia. I was born dead, so my mom didn't get a hold of me. I was rushed to prenatal care. Amazing. So take a look at the process of death. Were you conscious in that death? How was it coming back to life? When the moment life came up back into the body, there was a restructuring there geometrically. And also remember that the moment that you come into the world, into conception, is a photograph of everything that you are in the universe, cosmically, all the planets that influence energetically what you're going to be as a vibrational frequency. So to have that death so early on is kind of like an immediate initiation into that experience of life and death and rebirth. And so, how was the experience coming into that second life? This can also be a contractual agreement for the family, for the parent. If there was a feeling of not being ready or prepared for life, manifesting a death at that birth, and then bringing the child back to life could have rewired the way that they feel about life. So it's a powerful lesson that we are both teaching each other and we're also being taught. You are a powerful lesson for mother and father, and the same way mother and father is a powerful lesson for you. So it's important to take a look at these experiences, and kind of learn from them. Very good. Questions in capital letters, please, guys. I love all your comments. Mama Ren, thank you so much for that super chat. Love you so much. You're so kind. Venusian says, I never had a great relationship with my mom. However, I had the most loving relationship with my grandmother, mom's mom. Does she take over my mom's role? So, the concept of mother is something that we create. I want to say that to you in that the archetypal identification of what a mother uh, is influenced by a lot of media, a lot of ideas of that. Naturally in the natural world, the mother is meant to be a nurturing source, a source of life giving. She feeds from the breast, she provides food for you in order to survive, and hopefully impart a clear understanding of emotional balance and how to manage those emotions come from the mother more than anything, because the mother is essentially through the mitochondria inheriting the majority of that aggregate collective trauma into us. Okay, mother and father both, but we take on a lot of our emotional perception from the mother. So this is an invitation to take a look at our relationship with the feminine. This is not something that you've come into in this lifetime and is new. You've actually had many lifetimes of learning how to master the balance of the feminine. Okay, so in this lifetime, coming into a family where the mother was not available, but the grandmother was, remember that the mother is a product of the grandmother. So we want to begin to understand, like, what are the relationships with emotions on both of those and lineages. Okay, what did we take on? Now, what is your perception of the feminine in creation? Okay, so this is where I would take a look at it. It's not that it's a replacement for the mother. We all have to learn to be our own mother and our own father, and we don't really understand that. But there's a certain point when we come into the level of puberty and creation and a maturity that did us organisms, we have to mature into our full state of co-creation. We're not given the tools for that, but we're learning as we go. Can you please elaborate on how the body receives memories? How the body receives memories? Receive, Cedric, can you tell me what do you mean by receive? Do you mean stores? Do you mean stores memory? Okay, so let's talk about that. And actually, let me open my PowerPoint because I want to we can kind of go over that really quickly here. And also I want to talk about the architecture of balance, bioarchitecture. How does that look like in the body? It's a perfect segue for that. So let me open this up, guys. Okay. Let me go back to your question to make sure I answer. How do we record memories, I guess is the question. Is that right, Cedric? If you're there, clarify for me so I can answer it. Okay, so in the body, how do we record memories in the body? So let's see, we're going to start here. Let's go here with this. Okay, let's take a look at this. So our bodies, essentially, we are fields within fields. Every single one of the chakras expands into a field like this. So this is showing, in this example, they're focusing on the heart chakra. Okay, so the heart chakra has specific traits to it. It has both its positive and negative aspects. It's contractive and expansive, creative and non-creative aspects to it. And if you want to learn more about that, I suggest studying chakra charts that go deep into those aspects. Okay, so let's see, hold on. Do I have a chakra chart here? No, I don't. Okay. But essentially, the field that is here is encoded with specific vibrational frequency. So the heart chakra, the entire field of the heart chakra processes specific vibrational data. Okay, not all data, just specific vibrational data that is in alignment with the vibrational frequency ranges that the heart processes. Let's open the chakra chart so that this can be more clear. And every single chakra masters and manages and processes information based on that vibrational frequency. This is the beauty of the self-organizing system that we have. We have such a beautiful self-organizing system that basically allows us to shift in our perceptions. Okay, hold on. Let me, I just want to show you this chart so you guys can screenshot it and work with it because it is very helpful. For those of you that are not familiar, I just want to go over that. So let's see. Okay, I can't find my favorite chakra chart, so we'll just go with this here. Okay. So in a sense, we're taking a look here at the positive and negative aspects of it. Okay. So for example, the root chakra, physical existence, it's all about the physical existence. Okay. So do we feel safe in our body? Do we feel safe in our home? Do we feel that we can associate with a home? And then what does that mean? What does that represent for us? Okay, and in the example of the heart, to love and be loved. So all of our programs about love, trust, connection with the self, gratitude, unconditional love, acceptance toward the self, forgiveness, those are all the main qualities. And those qualities, every single one of these words, love, trust, healing, all have a vibrational frequency. Okay. Uh, and in the solar plexus, power, confidence, charisma, will, humor, they all, each one of those words has a vibrational frequency. So essentially every single one of the body parts is processing different vibrational frequency, different ranges of vibrational frequency. So essentially how we input emotional data and how we process emotional data is that it comes in through the field first. So you're receiving data from the external experience, from your field, before you even experience it in the body through emotions. It comes in as a vibrational frequency. Okay. And that vibrational frequency will immediately be picked up like a radio signal by the layer of your body, the field of your body, the body that is connected to the chakra system that processes that specific vibrational frequency. So if the survival, so right now, if there's an experience that some violent thing happens next to you in your house, that somebody slaps somebody else, um, you will learn these patterns of how the chakra responds, because there's also layers of interconnected information. So, for example, in a moment where you experience violence, the first thing that will come up is your root chakra. Your root chakra will come into overdrive, into heightened state. Okay, because survival, because immediately you're assessing through your eyes, through your visions, and through the energy of the body is picking up the violent. It picks up the pain of the person being slapped. It picks up the anger of the person slapping the person. And so the physical pain and the anger both are picked up by several different parts of the body. But you feel it in your energetic space before you process that. First, you feel it energetically, and then it's going to go in through the nervous system, through the skin, which goes into the nervous system. The nervous system will secrete the chemicals of survival that expand or contract your chakra system. So the solar plexus. And if you have experienced the pain that the person is feeling, the pain that you're seeing, you're picking up from the person being slapped, you will process that through your body as well. So, for example, your solar plexus will become enlarged immediately because you recognize feelings of disempowerment, not only from the person being slapped, but you yourself, because it triggers survival in you, because you don't have a file cabinet for how to respond to violence in a way that is constructed. You haven't taught yourself that yet. There is a lack of information, so immediately the body goes into survival mode. So root chakra expand, solar plexus expand, and immediately when that happens, it blocks our ability to respond, because we come into fight, flight, or freeze. We either run or run away, we freeze, we don't know what to say, we don't know how to respond, or we just completely, we contract, we want to just hide. So this is how the body works. So after it goes through this process in the endocrine system, at that point of survival of that experience, this is the window, the empty space in which most of us cause ourselves trauma. We become traumatized because we don't know how to respond in that circumstance, and our responses have to do with our values, what we have perceived to be right and wrong, how we know how to react to things like this. Is it our place to tell the person that just slapped the person something? Is it our place to defend? And I see these kinds of studies of humanity when I see these videos online of social experiments where people do something wrong to someone else, like bully someone else, and people just pass by. They don't respond to it, or they just become disassociated, or we literally, we don't know what's right and wrong. We are a society that is so confused, and we adopt a lot of inverted ideas about things. And therefore we're confused about what is the right thing to do. So all of that impacts the body and becomes a memory imprint in the entire system. That one experience, so you can imagine, let's say the solar plexus is wide open, and I lost my root chakra here, but let's say the root chakra also becomes wide open. It essentially is creates a photograph in your body of this memory, the trauma. Okay, so that memory of the entire body, how it responded to that experience. Let's say your body looked like this. Essentially, that is what memories are. They are vibrational frequency. This is a vibrational frequency because the chakras are ranges of vibrational frequency. Remember that. So vibrational frequency in your body, remember the ranges of frequency, these are the frequencies that we process through the body. That combination that you created as a result of that experience becomes a program. It becomes a part of your survival toolbox. Okay, is that clear? I wonder if that's clear. Let me stop the share. Oh. Okay, so let's take a look at questions, and let's see. Kate Torres, thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you for everything you do. Love you, Kate. Thank you for that. Can you please elaborate how the body receives memory? Does that work, Cedric? Yes, how the body records memory. You're right on point. Okay, awesome. And so essentially, loves, what ends up happening is that we have a series of these photographs, energetic photographs that are a combination of what your chakra system did, what your chemicals did, that's all recorded in the nervous system, even the muscles, the way that your muscles contract in that moment when something happens. And remember that all of these are instinctual responses, okay? And this is the difference between these instinctual, reactionary, non-conscious responses, okay? So instinct is one little box, okay? So there's many parts of us that are instinctual, that are necessary instincts that we need for our survival, natural, okay? Like, for example, when you're choking, remember to breathe, your entire body knows how to respond to that. Okay, so we're not talking about those biological ones. We're talking about the survival mechanisms, the instincts that are programmed into us because we believe that's what helps us survive. Okay, these are the primal parts of us that have been reinforced as a result of trauma. Okay, so the other side of that, the higher functioning one that is more conducive, is the human that is more aware and is constantly aware of their body, checking in a mindful observation of themselves and the other. And this takes time. It's a cultivation and clarification of your core values. Okay, you get really clear about those. You are in alignment with nature, which allows you to access high truth. That high truth helps you discern what is good for yourself and the whole. And when you know that, when you know what's good for yourself, when you know yourself deeply, it's no longer what's good for the ego or these selfish parts. You become a human that's interconnected with the whole. So your choices become good for all. Okay, this is the broadening of perspective. This is where we come into our highest expansive self. And so now you are clear when you see this interaction, you know exactly what's happening. You can discern immediately what is inverted, what is true, what is not true, and then you can choose. And sometimes you might notice that you don't actually have to do anything about the slap. Okay, this is just an example. Okay, and this is really, really interesting because this is where we start learning about what it means, what unconditional love really means. And sometimes people need to go through processes of suffering in order for them to wake up from their unconscious states. When you embody unconditional love, when you have cultivated that in yourself, you can discern when that is right. Okay, but this requires a lot of shadow work. Okay, it's not so simple, and making sure that the ego is never getting involved in that decision process. Because as soon as the ego becomes involved, it becomes self-serving, and we can always cause harm actually with that. Okay, so we actually want to come from a more holistic understanding of ourselves and in humanity and all these things, so that when we see these things, we know what is compassionate, Sometimes it's compassionate to let the person suffer. And because also you can try to change someone all you want, but they will not change unless they want to. So that's a law that we need to understand and respect. Okay. So sometimes when we see like the slap scenario, both people might be on the same resonance, on the same frequency. They're both in survival. They both contribute to violence constantly, not just in that scenario, emotionally, abusing themselves and abusing others. And to be able to explain to them these things would take a long time, and it would take a lot of their willingness to change that. Okay. So, this is where we begin to kind of mature into, we don't become spiritually reactive about things. It's a completely different state of being. Okay. Okay. Ina Danova, thank you so much for that super chat. Oh my God, very generous of you. Thank you so much. Greg says, is a soul more masculine or more feminine or neutrally balanced? The soul has no sex, and it has neither of those energies, because the soul is a fractal of infinite consciousness. A fractal of infinite consciousness, which you can kind of define as, sorry, here's such a mess. I want you to, when you think of soul, when you think of non-physical things, we're talking about non-physical things. So the physical vessel is a very small, it's a vessel. It's a vessel. And it's containing self-organizing infinite consciousness, infinite potential. Okay. So are you guys seeing this? So essentially, what is the soul? The soul is all of the ranges of frequencies. Okay. So for example, remember that every single dimensional layer of our body, is a range of frequency. So you can imagine it like a color of a rainbow, just like I'm depicting in this image here. Okay, so your soul is all of this information when you see it in this way as ranges of dimensional frequency. When you see it in ranges of how it kind of expands into this universe, the soul looks like this. Okay, spheres within spheres. You have all of these archetypal aspects of yourself, which are, they're only expressed that way in this matrix. Because in this dimension, depending on what dimension you're in, things fractalize in different ways. And the Platonic solids will help us understand that, because this is how light bends into different how can I call it? A plane, right? So many dimensions, right? So when you look at sacred geometry, like for example, the Merkaba, this is a certain dimensional expression. Okay. So light bends in this way. It moves in this certain movement. So as you go up the different dimensional layers, light is going to move in a different way. It's going to fractalize in a different way. So your soul essentially is all of those, all of that, all that light fractalized in different dimensional layers, creating different aspects of yourself, archetypal aspects of yourself. And it's everything. So the way that I describe it, essentially, if you think of a rainbow, the rainbow becoming white light, the soul essentially is that white light. It's right here, but it's even more. It's all of this actually. Okay, the higher dimensional levels you reach, more of these ranges of frequency can be perceived. So you are all of these cosmic rays, gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, microwave, radar, radio. We put these names on these in order to measure them, to measure how we light band waves of light are moving, but we are all of them, right? From fastest to longest, from shortest to longest wave. You are all of those. They become fractalized within the dimensions. And essentially, that fractalization is self-organized in the body. And of course, this is the DNA. This is the DNA database. as you know, the DNA only needs 2% to create this entire body, right? So the rest of that is the rest of this information. The rest of these waves, short and long waves, mostly shorter, because the long waves are the more physical, the heavier ones. That's the physical body. Okay, so the shorter waves, which are out in the higher dimensional layers of our body, are essentially, you know, other dimensional aspects of ourselves, which is also encoded in your DNA. So that's essentially what the soul is, and we are learning through this arc of becoming human, or becoming conscious in this human vessel, in one human vessel, because as you become more conscious, you become aware of your other vessels, your blue being vessel, your being as an archetype on this planet, like a queen or a king. Okay, so all of those are encoded in your DNA. It's passed down through generations, through all of the experiences that you've had through your ancestors. You were your ancestors. You were your mother before, you were your father before, and vice versa. Don't think of it as finite form. It's energy, non-formless energy that temporarily experiences form in many ways. So that is essentially what it is. Did I answer that question properly? Is the soul master right? So the only time that it comes into the fractalization of duality is when it comes into the earth plane. Okay, because 3D, three-dimensional plane requires feminine and masculine to experience the third. That's the third dimensional plane. 3 dimensions. And we exist in the 3-4 dimension, okay, which is why we have access. And this, the fact that we're in the 3-dimensional plane also defines the experience and the place in the universe that we're experiencing collectively. Okay, right now we are moving through you know, these ranges of frequency in the 3-dimensional plane. We experience right now we're in the 13th. Okay, we're experiencing the 3rd dimensional plane in the way that we fractalize energy into 13 main dimensional planes that we have access to immediately. Okay, so that is the soul. So in the third, in this 3D, we experience duality. So we're going to have things like feminine and masculine. In higher dimensions, beings have no sex. Okay, they're asexual. And the reproduction is more about intention. It's instantaneous intention. So we need sex in this dimension in order to sustain the matrix. You know, to procreate, we procreate life, we bring children into this world. We have a hybridization program that's interdimensional breeding in order to create life in the non-physical realm within low range dimensions. Okay, so everything from 13 dimension under is this matrix. Okay, and they're all abiding by some law of duality. Okay, so even if the beings in the higher realms don't embody a sex or a feminine masculine energy, they're more androgynous, you can say. It's the higher the dimension, the more androgynous the organism becomes, because it is a unified field of all ranges of frequencies. Okay, the lower, the more separate it becomes. That's where we get the more primal parts of us. Okay, so you can experience that as well. Yeah. So I wonder if people with physical anomalies come from abduction, genetic modification, physical. Well, I guess I need to understand what you mean by physical anomalies. I would need to really understand what that means. And we can talk about that. Thank you so much for your super chat, Cedric. Love you. David Brian Davis. Thank you so much, Mafona. Thank you so much for your super chat, guys. You guys really helped me and support this channel. I'm really humbled and thank you for that. Ice Lily, welcome. Angie, Jane, Mark Hudson. How about in the Zoom? Do we have any questions in the Zoom here? before we start here. Okay, so really briefly, let me just tell you what I came to tell you today about the architecture of the body and maintaining balance. And it's something that we're going to practice in today's meditation. Okay, so our body, we have an access point in our body. Okay, the way that we exist in a three-dimensional hologram. In order for the hologram to exist, we have the planes of the body, the sagittal, the transverse, and the coronal plane, that essentially are the lines that help self-organize this information in the body. Now, we have the main source cord that moves through the crown of the head, goes down to the center point of the body, and anchors down into the earth core. Okay, so we have a cord of life force that feeds life force into this physical vessel. When we sever the connection from source to the physical vessel by self-hate, by denial, by contractive energies, when our vortex is moving in a way that is depleting of life force, we literally block source from entering into the physical body. Okay, so it cannot enter into this body. Your root chakra is wide open. Your solar and your sacral are quite open and out of balance. Your heart usually isn't functioning very much. Your throat might be open, but it's out of balance in either masculine, feminine. Your third eye is paralyzed. Your pineal gland is calcified. Your third eye is essentially not even working. Okay, you're not utilizing your intuition. You're afraid. Most people that have this blocked are afraid of nature, afraid of natural remedies, or connecting with the body, connecting with your intuition and healing your body. That all becomes severed. And your crown chakra and seventh chakra, which connect you to the DNA of the earth, is completely paralyzed as well. It's not working. So essentially, this human vessel becomes, the source cord becomes really thin. It looks like a little pencil shape of energy. Okay, so imagine this is how much energy is moving through teeny tiny little pencil shape of energy. How can you infuse so much life force into the body for it to maintain harmony when you only have a tiny little bit of energy coming through? Life force. This is where people go into depression. And what happens is that the body depletes its energy because it doesn't believe it needs to sustain energy in the body. Okay, so that's the difference. When you become centripetal, when you're moving your vortex quickly and you are becoming a creator, you are now cultivating your own source of energy, and life force that is moving through the crown of your head, your source cord, becomes wider. That's what it means to grow your light body. That word, my father told me this actually, grow, you need to grow your light. And I didn't know what that meant, because I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm dealing with my emotions, I'm dealing with my trauma. How the hell am I going to grow my light? What does that even mean? So when I became psychic after my contact experience, I understood, because I can see when bodies are wider with white light, these are people that meditate. These are people that have more gray matter in their brain. These are people that are using Kundalini exercises or alchemizing energy and emotions constantly in order to raise their vibrational frequency as a result of the mastery of their emotions, which allow them to create vibrational resonance with source, which again is white light, which is all. You're all. You become all. Okay, and that embodiment of that source light essentially infuses into the organism, nourishing, bringing balance. The intelligence of the body becomes heightened because now you're connecting to the DNA of the earth as well as your own DNA. Okay, and that's where the body becomes nourished. It becomes whole. So what we want to learn, so in addition to that, we have another cord in our body, which is the transverse plane. This center core of the body, we also have another cord. We have another cord in our body that goes through the center core of the body. And the center core of the body cord basically wraps around the earth. I'm wondering if I could find something. Okay. It wraps around the center of the earth. Holographically sustaining you in alignment with the experience of the matrix. And it's actually the source, the cord that moves through the center of your solar plexus that is actually it's like a nerve. It's kind of like it has the sensitivity of a nervous system. It connects to your nervous system in the physical body, but it has the sensitivity of a nervous system, if you can just have that visual. But think of a field that is like a nervous system, okay? And so that nervous system is essentially going through the center core of your body, and every layer of your body connects to this transverse plane in the center of the body. And to that cord essentially becomes the processing system of all information that you experience every moment of your day. Okay, so everything, every subtle emotion, sensation, feeling that you pick up from people, places, and things around you, this is the cord that picks up all that information. When we have that uncultivated, the body comes out of balance and it cannot feel grounded. It's really difficult for us to ground in our body. We don't feel safe in the body, okay? And remember that the way as above, so below, the way that we cultivate the core to the earth is the way that we connect to the universe in that same way, because this is how we are, utilizing information. This is like how the layers of the body move around you. Every single one of these fields that surrounds your body is essentially interconnecting and passing through this transverse cord at the solar plexus. And the solar plexus cord is cultivated by the ability to create and grow your dantian energy in the solar plexus. Okay, so remember we talked about dantian. Let me see if I can find that image. We have an upper, lower, and middle dantian. And we cultivate the lower dantian by mastery of emotions and by filtering through false perceptions. And what that means is that you are growing and you're mastering the physical. That's what that means. It's mastery of the physical. Give me a moment to find it, please. Just one moment. Let me find this so I can just. Okay, here. Sorry, that took so long. Okay, that's over here. Okay, so lower, middle, and upper dantian. So this right here, this black hole that you see here in the center of the body, this is the cord that I'm telling you about. This cord wraps around the entire earth plane, okay? Or yeah, so it's essentially ties you into the physical plane. People that have a tremendous amount of trauma, okay? Either sexual trauma, either emotional trauma, because this is the emotional center here, all of the main organs of the body. Remember, when we have main organs of the body, maintaining harmony and balance in those organs through the emotional mastery, that's what cultivates life force in the body. We deplete our energy by imbalanced emotions. So those of you that are masters of your emotion cultivate a very strong dantian here. And this integration of the lower dantian balances the chakras into about 6 inches wide each one. The body is managed. And you are operating more from the heart, from the throat and the third eye, your intuition, your balance, harmony, and your heart. Okay, so this is a different way of existing in the physical body, in which you now are completely coming into health. Okay, so it looks like this yellow line that goes down here, and then your source cord that goes to the center of the body. Okay, the wider the source cord becomes, the more you are a conduit of life force. Okay, the more out of balance this other cord becomes, the more you are tied to the matrix and you're entangled in the matrix. Because every emotional input that you put into the physical plane is also entangling you with the people you're interacting with. And this is how you create karmic agreements that sustain many lifetimes with people, contractual agreements. So the architecture of balance is to maintain both chords in as much unison as possible, in as much harmony. Be conscious of the cord that is here in the center and back of your body. Be conscious of the cord from your crown to your perineum into the center of the earth. And what you'll notice is that their body will immediately come into good health and emotional balance. Okay? So in today's meditation, we are going to do that. We're going to work with that. Okay? Mark Hudson, thank you so much for that super chat. Any other questions here? Wow, lots of comments, but please put your questions in capital so that I can find them and read them quickly. Yeah, so Myla, I think I answered that question. Okay. Hi, Grandizer. Hi, Robin. All right, guys, let's get into our meditation. I want you all to start by getting really nice and comfortable. Inhaling and exhaling. Okay. We're just going to ground down to the center of the earth. And this time I want you to create that pole of white light. I want you to bring source down through your body, down through the crown of your head, creating a pillar of white light through the body, in through the perineum and into the center of the earth. Go ahead and check in. And so why we started here is because I want you to notice how hard is it for you to create that pillar of white light through your body. Okay. If it's really hard, if it feels like you can only imagine up to here, and then it gets really difficult to imagine it here and really hard to to imagine it in the body, but it's easy to imagine it outside of the body, this tells you how out of harmony your physical body is. And it's not just physical, it's emotional. You have a lot of stagnation in the body. Okay, and what's causing it difficult to imagine those parts of the body is essentially all the debris that we have. Okay, so go ahead and check in. As you, with your will and your intention, solidify that cord down through the center core of your body, you immediately begin to move out some of the debris that are there. Okay, you begin to move them out. So all the debris that are here blocking your source cord ability to move through your body begins to gently move out, because you're shifting the frequency of the light that's moving through your body. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and imagine as you pull that energy down through your body, it becomes easier and easier to visualize that white light through your body. Okay, easier and easier to visualize that white light through your body. Okay, go ahead and visualize it as much as you can. You literally visualize a pole of white light through your body. Make sure that you can see like this, the cylindrical form of that white light through your body. This cylindrical form is literally interconnected to all of your bodies that you're creating right now. You're intentionally bringing all of the layers of your body into harmony with this white light. Okay. Very good. So as you do that, some of you might have some emotions coming up. Some of you might be having memories coming up. Okay, allow yourself to neutralize any of those memories. Don't need to be in the body. Bring yourself into a neutral state. Breathing deeply. Okay. So as you allow yourself to bring this into the body, I want you to now create the center cord from the solar plexus, the center cord. It's not exactly the solar plexus, but a little bit lower. It's like in between the solar plexus and your sacral chakra. Okay, so I want you to see that powerful white cord of light down through the center core of your body, out through the back of your body. And go ahead and visualize that cylinder coming perfectly into balanced state. Notice how your organs begin to come into a more calm. If any of you have digestive issues, if you're having issues in your stomach in any way, inflammation, this will help rebalance those things in the body. Okay, all of your organs. It's working with all of the organs here. So go ahead and see your light, and I want you to see the white light around the entire perimeter of the earth. Okay, so just visualize your your cord light from the center of your body wrapping around the earth. And the more you visualize this wrapping around the earth, you will notice that you come more into your body. You become more grounded. Okay, so create that cord. Make it nice and wide and solid. Breathing deeply. Breathing, breathing, breathing. Every breath you take, bringing the body into a state of relaxation. And calm. Okay, so as you create this cord to the center core of their body, I want you to go to the center point in between uh, those two cords of energy intersect in the center of your body. I want you to begin to visualize pouring white light in through it. From source, you're going to bring white light. And as you bring white light into the body, you're gonna fill in the transverse plane cord. So the one at the center of your body, you're gonna fill it with white light too. Okay. Breathing. I just want you to notice how grounded you feel. I want you to notice the back of your body kind of comes into attention. The back of the body becomes kind of conscious and alive and aware. Okay, this is maintaining balance in all of your body. It's really, really powerful. Okay, let's start working with the field now. You're going to go to the root chakra. I want you to shrink the root chakra down to the size of a dime. So we're literally pulling in the root field, the sacral, shrinking, the solar, okay. Shrink down all three chakras. You're going to expand your heart chakra now. Okay. Expand your throat. Expand your third eye. Okay, you're going to go up into your seventh and eighth. You're going to activate the seventh and the eighth. Go ahead and see the color you're supposed to put up here in the eighth. Okay, fill the eighth chakra with this color. You're going to send it down into the seventh. Fill it into the seventh chakra, into the area of your career, abundance, love, consciousness, relationships, harmony, sexual energy, creativity, creative life force, health, partnerships, your children, if you have children, and your purpose. Fill it in. Okay. So let's begin. We're going to bring a powerful wave of golden light from the center of the earth, rushing up into the body, creating a vortex of energy, activating the lower vortex as you see on the screen. Okay. Go ahead and allow yourself to bring golden light from source, cosmic energies, down to the crown of your head, combining, creating a vortex of energy around the body. So you look like a golden globe right now. That's what your entire body looks like. Very good. Go ahead and send 10% back down to the center of the earth, eliminating out of the body anything that doesn't belong. Up 80% out from the crown of the head, coating the outside of your field, calling back your life force. Go ahead and just briefly review anywhere where you may have depleted your life force unconsciously through the week. Breathing deeply. I'm going to take that final 10%. Go ahead and visualize bringing it into the body now, into the core. Into the body, healing the body. Direct this energy into any part of the body that requires healing, that requires more attention. Okay. So as you can feel right now, you are really nice and grounded. You are really, your body immediately comes into a state of harmony. This is one of the most powerful tools that you can use to bring yourself into a state of neutral healing anytime. So we're going to sit here for a minute in silence. I want you to allow whatever needs to come up, allowing yourself to come into a state of complete balance. Constantly, if you will, observe anything that needs to release. Let it go out of the body. Do not use your analytical mind. Use your intuition to intuitively neutralize anything that doesn't belong in this space. Breathing. Allowing the beautiful vessel to come into compassion. Compassion for itself, where it no longer allows suffering in this body, unnecessary, unconscious suffering. Allow yourself to release. Make sure your first three chakras are closed and your top three are open. It will completely change your experience. Your attention is on your breath. I want you to begin to visualize that this cord at the center of your body that is moving the transverse plane, that it begins to move that white light through your body, around the center of the earth, through your body, clearing out any kind of debris in the central organs. So focus on your stomach, your liver, your spleen, pancreas, kidneys, intestines, sexual organs, all of the organs become cleared, almost as if you are filtering or flushing out any heavy emotions, any thoughts, any memories that are no longer serving us. And it's just going to be recycled through that cord through the center of your body. Goes out through the front of the body, flush it out. And the energy that comes back inside the body from behind is new, regenerated life force. And remember that you're also bringing white light from source through the center meridian line of your body into that cord. You're infusing it with white light. So it just becomes cleaning, filtering. Many of you, your cord at the center of your body might feel really stagnant because you've been holding on to a lot. I really want you to bring that source white light down into the center of your body, into this transverse cord, pushing out any kind of impurities, blockages, stagnation. These are things that you might be holding on to since childhood. These are things that might have been very difficult to break and heal from. As it cycles around this perimeter of the earth, it neutralizes in its frequency back into white light. And you're going to receive that white light into the back of the body. Until it feels as if you're running clear white light through the entire cord. Notice if any fear and anxiety comes up when you are about to release something. You're just going to observe it and release all of the tension in your body that's holding on to it. Without analyzing, just expand the muscles in that part of the body that are tight. You'll notice that with every contracting thought, your muscles contract as well. Your heart stops expanding. And there's going to be a point in which you have to surrender here. Allow yourself that surrender. Very good. Breathing. With every breath you take, inhaling source light with every exhale, pushing it through that center core out of your body. Okay, we're going to start by working with the root chakra now. Go ahead and visualize opening that root chakra back up. Go ahead and flush out the root chakra. You'll notice that it'll become even easier. Any one of you that have been having difficulty clearing that center cord, you'll notice that once you do this, it'll become even easier. Okay, so flush out the root chakra, the entire body. Flush out the sacral chakra. Flush out the solar chakra. Flush out the heart chakra. Flush out the throat chakra. Clear all of those debris. Flush out the third eye body. Go up into your seventh and eighth. Clear out the seventh, clear out the eighth. Infuse it with your creative color. I want you to see a room full of karmic contracts, everything we've agreed that is in our holographic DNA to experience at this time, dormant and unconscious in the subconscious mind. You're going to shine your crown light and dissolve these contracts. You're going to fill this room with your creative color, color of your highest intention, your highest soul purpose at this time. Setting the intention that everything we do in our life is in alignment with our highest expression and no less. As you activate the 9th, activate the 10th, activate the 11th, activate the 12th, expand the 13th, expand the 14th, expand the 15th, expand and activate mean the same thing. Expand the 16th, expand the 17th, expand the 18th, expand the 18th, the 19th, sorry, the 20th, the 21, the 22, 23, and 24. Okay, allow yourself to feel your body now completely connected to the 24 chakras. Anchor yourself all the way down to the center of the earth. I want you to see white light above you. This is source. Bring that white light down through the center core of your body, down through all the chakras, down through all the physical chakras, and down through the out of body under chakras that connect to the earth and connect to that earth. I want you to infuse earth with this white light as we bring gratitude to the people we love, family and friends. Bring love into our communities, into our societies, into this earth. Bringing healing into the planet Earth, all people that are suffering. Brothers and sisters. Bringing healing into the planet, animals, all living things, and this interdependent system. As we bring consciousness to our actions, everything that we are, everything we do, everything we think. Setting the intention that we are in alignment with our conscious actions. Okay, as you come back into the room, open your eyes. With your eyes open, I want you to continue to see your grounding cord, continue to see the 24 chakras. Okay, bringing yourself into a state of awareness now in your physical body. You're going to maintain this awareness. Okay, very good. Welcome back, everybody. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It was such a pleasure to work with you. And I want to thank you for your support, for your love. Thank you for being here. I love you so much. If you feel that you gained some insight or something powerful from this, please share and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you guys for your super chats. They really mean a lot to me. I'm very grateful for that. So thank you. And over here in the chat, Artie says, what is a good vitamin? Um, vitamins really depend on you. It's very personal. It depends on how your diet is. It depends on how you are depleting energy. Sometimes we deplete minerals and vitamins out of our body when we sustain imbalanced emotions. And also something that I've been kind of looking at is the effect of solar flares on blood, how our blood functions. People that are getting um, depletion of irons or life force in our blood systems, in our circulations, can be affected by that. And all of that is because we're not in our body, we're not grounded, we're not creating connection with the body. So, all of these external influences can really affect the physical body in ways that we don't realize. So, the vitamin, please have your blood checked, your blood levels, to see where you are depleting, where you are depleted, where you need some help. And it's really important to get blood tests done in order for you to understand where you're at if you're so disconnected from your body. Okay. And therefore you can, because it's not good to just take random vitamins also. Some things we don't need in the body. And so it can actually be really heavy on the body if we take something we don't need. So make sure you're checking in. Make sure you're getting a lot of protein, your B12s, those essential vitamins and minerals that are good for the body. So yeah. Thank you for that question, Artie. I'm not a nutritionist or a doctor, so I'm not very thorough on that, but definitely get your blood checks. Okay. Mark, thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you, Mafona. Thank you, Silban. Much love to you. Cedric, awesome experience. I did not want to come back in the room. Remember that we create our reality, so bring that into your life. That's the true alchemist, brings that into their every moment. Angie says, I felt a force of heat energy through my hands. Awesome. When you clean out a lot of the organs, your energy healing centers activate. So your healing chakras in the hands and also in the feet, through the eyes, become clear. They become clear. And so in the heart as well, they become clear. I could feel some of our group who released today. Yeah. Gamma rays went through all of us last week. It was very powerful last week. That was amazing. I'm walking in star seed and presently going through a Chiron return. There's so much I don't remember about my life. Beautiful. Do you have any scholarship or betterment program in exchange for DNA reprogramming sessions? I don't have the financial resources available. Oh, I'm so sorry, my love. But yeah, I have a lot of free content on this YouTube channel, and I don't have any betterment program, but I am creating an academy. So I do hope to afford scholarships for that soon. So please hang in there. I will be organizing all this information in a way that's more digestible soon. Okay. I'm happy I made it today. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Silban. So wonderful to see you. I love doing eye-opening meditation. Awesome. Thank you, my loves. Have an amazing week, and I will see you next week. Thank you in the chat. Everybody, thanks for the amazing meditation I did. I signed up for the DNA reprogramming. I tried emailing you and texting you about doing it in person. Oh, you know what? I actually don't do in-person sessions at this time just because I'm traveling a lot already. So sorry about that. But I do virtual. So if wherever you are, I'm really happy to work with you internationally. Okay. All right. Love you. And I will see you soon. Bye. Bye, everybody.